Take roll call. Oh, wait, look at this. You asked for a quorum. Ask and you shall receive here. So, okay, we're going to call this meeting to order of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District at 9:09 a.m. on July 25th. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Carr. Here. Daniels. Frost. Here. Gaylord.
I'm attending on behalf of Roger Gaylord.
I have Sarah Keno attending on behalf of Roger Gaylord. Guerra.
Here.
Hanson. Here. Harris. Kennedy. Lampson. Here. Lee.
Stephanie Lynn on behalf of Steve Lee.
Natoli.
Here.
Peters. Cerna. Terry. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. If everyone could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll have our mayor from Galt lead us today.
All right, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, we'll ask the board clerk to make the announcements for those watching on TV.
This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District is cablecast live without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T UVerse cable system. This meeting is being closed captioned and will be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated on Saturday, July 27th at 2 p.m. and July 28th at 2 p.m. on Channel 14. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker form located on the table at the back of the chamber and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Also, at this time, please silence your cell phones until the conclusion of today's meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to go ahead and move with the consent calendar. If the clerk could please read the items of the consent calendar, and then if any members wish to pull any things off, I'll ask them. Madam Clerk.
Okay, sure. Item 1, quarterly contract reports for April 2019 to June 2019. Item 2, May 23rd, 2019, Board of Director meeting minutes. Item 3, Clean Cars for All Program Development and Case Management Services Contract. Item 4, Special District Risk Management Authority Board of Directors election. Item 5, Hearing Board Members appointments. Item 6, Low Emission Vehicle Incentive Project approvals. Bimbo Bakeries USA, Inc. Sorry. Community Resource Project, Inc., Rescue Union School District, Cisco Leasing, LLC, and Twin Rivers Unified School District. Item 7, Senate Bill 1, Adaptation Planning Grant, Building Climate Adaptation into Statewide Greenhouse Gas Toolkit for Local Agencies.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll entertain a motion from the board on the consent calendar. It's been moved by Board Member Carr, seconded by Board Member Terry. Any discussion? Board Member Natoli.
Yeah, Mr. Gary, if I just could on item 7, and I just wanted to be clear. So are we updating the handbook for the state? Is that what the role we're performing, or is it just for our district? Because it talks about the California handbook, and so are we doing it for applicability in our district?
We're actually doing it for all of the districts.
You are.
CAPCOA has tools, and we're basically taking the lead on updating it for use by all the districts.
Okay, so the grant came to us to do that work, and then it pays for coordination with the other districts?
Actually, it's better than that, and we actually have our staff lead in the audience. Ms. Jiang is the one that took the lead to apply for the grant and was able to successfully procure it. Then we presented it to CAPCOA, the other districts, and we were all in agreement that this was an update that was necessary.
Okay. Does it in any way, again, when you compete for these dollars, though, does it look like well, SAC AQMD got $733,000, and so next round, and yet we're performing basically a statewide service. And so it's clear to folks that, as much as, we're glad to have the work and the money and obviously to take the lead, that we don't somehow get, penalized in people's minds because we got $750,000 to this project, and so next time there's a planning grant, they'll say, well, SAC AQMD got that money. We're basically assisting the entirety of the state in this regard. Right. So I just want to be, that's kind of what went to my mind is, well, we do this work, it's good work, but then next time planning grant comes, they say, well, you got $750,000 last time, so. Right.
No, the point is well taken. I think we have a very good working relationship with Caltrans, who's managing the SB1 grant. So I think we are well positioned to not suffer from
just
from
put
success.
An asterisk. Let them know we're doing work that benefits everybody in the state. So anyway, good. Thanks, Elliot.
Thank you, Board Member Natoli. The state comes for the best to get the rest. With that, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, measure passes. Okay, Madam Clerk.
The next item is the discussion calendar. Item number 8, Sacramento Tree Foundation presentation. And I have Mr. Torrin Dunavant to give a presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. Ray Trethaway sends his regrets for not being able to be here, but it is his birthday, so he's off celebrating, I think, in Tahoe. So, but we really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you to Dr. Ayala, Shelley, and Jaime with the SAC AQMD for giving us this opportunity. Today I'm going to share with you about how our urban forest, the trees of the greater Sacramento region, play a vital role in combating the effects of climate change and air quality in the Sacramento region. It's essential that we act quickly to enhance and grow the urban forest, and especially focus on communities that need trees the most. I'll start with a brief overview about the foundation, then I'll share with you about how the urban forest can make a difference, and conclude how we can meet the climate change challenge by sequestering carbon and cooling the region by growing our tree canopy. And certainly I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I want to say that it is also an honor to speak before you, considering that we're connected to so many of the communities doing deep work in many of the districts that you all oversee in your various roles. So, founded in 1982, the Tree Foundation has been able to develop a clear focus on our mission. And through that mission, we recognize that when combined with civic engagement and work development solutions, trees represent a wealth of opportunity when it comes to urban sustainability and climate resilience. We have a wide variety of programming to engage the communities of Sacramento, from our longstanding residential shade tree program done in partnership with SMUD, our wildland restoration work that we partner with the County of Sacramento, our Neighborhoods program that focuses on underserved, under-canopied communities, and our various volunteer engagement opportunities where we work directly with neighborhoods, with schools, and with individuals. Recently, we've added a new facet to our work, which is our urban wood rescue program that takes landfill-bound trees and redirects them to our mill in South Sacramento, where we create beautiful, locally sourced lumber for an artisanal wood market, but also at the same time ensures that the carbon continues to be sequestered rather than released as it would in other circumstances. This also is a concept that drives a new job industry that hasn't existed before. We believe that now is the time to vastly increase our region's tree canopy. Trees offer a proven, practical, and cost-effective opportunity to mitigate climate change, and at the same time continue to enhance the quality of life for our wonderful region. Of course, we do know Sacramento is the city of trees. So there are two highly effective ways to increase the tree canopy. The obvious one is plant more trees. So for our 6-county region, we estimate that there will be opportunities to plant over 6 million new trees in the next 20 years in urban areas throughout the district. 1 million new trees should be focused in under-canopied neighborhoods to create a more equitable urban forest. 4 million trees should get planted in the new growth areas as we meet SACOG's projection of 300,000 new homes that are going to be added to the region over the next 2 decades. As well, another 1 million trees will need to be planted throughout the region as our current canopy ages out and dies. Now, just as much as we need to plant new trees, our older, mature trees also need increased attention. These trees are our workhorses. They store carbon, they clean the air, and they cool our communities. We need to invest in that mature canopy through both our municipal agencies and by growing awareness with community members about how they play a role in long-term tree stewardship. By giving these trees more attention, we can improve their health and increase their longevity as well as survival rates. So when we plant new trees, they begin a long process of sequestering carbon and adding other environmental benefit to our community. But at a young age, the carbon benefit is relatively meager. So here we have a newly planted tree, and at that age, it is storing 0.06 metric tons of carbon. So it's also essential when we're planting young trees to choose the right type of tree. So small ornamental trees like a crepe myrtle, which is very pretty, it only sequesters about 1/50th of the carbon that a tree like a valley oak will sequester in its lifetime. So there are also similar outcomes in terms of how a tree can support air quality and urban cooling. Generally, the bigger a tree, the more adapted it is to our climate, the better it's going to support our community. Okay, and so for a comparison, a mature tree can store 22.5 metric tons of carbon in its lifetime. So once they're mature, the benefits that trees give back are hundreds of times greater than when they're first planted. Each year, the benefits grow exponentially. The older they are, the greater they are in supporting us. So a neighborhood with a mature tree canopy, like Midtown Sacramento, is vastly better off than one with younger or smaller trees, like North Natomas. So for the Tree Foundation, we have a moral imperative to focus on tree equity, ensuring that all Sacramentans are experiencing the benefits of a robust tree canopy, which has been shown to improve overall community health. Another facet that really plays in here is thinking about when we're developing these new neighborhoods, leaving space for these trees, which is a constant conflict we're dealing with in various neighborhoods where this thought has not come up yet. So people who live in neighborhoods with strong tree canopies have less instances of heart disease, suffer less from asthma, are less likely to suffer from obesity, and are less likely to have mental health issues than folks who live in neighborhoods that have more sparse canopies. So now is the time for trees to meet today's seemingly inextractable challenges that we are facing with climate change. As we realize the impacts of climate change more deeply, the community health impacts will grow over time due to rising urban heat and worsened air quality, meaning that people living in under-canopied communities will be even more disproportionately affected. So as I'm sharing those different health outcomes, they're just going to get more, the difference between canopied communities and under-canopied communities will grow greater. I would like to mention that this conversation is already occurring with the Mayor's Climate Commission, and that trees are recognized as a key component to the region's goal of achieving a climate zero future, especially when we focus on the concept of doing this with equitable communities in mind. There's a wide community of research that has examined the role that the urban forest can play in mitigating the impacts of urban heat and air quality. Over 15 years ago, NASA spent 2 years studying our region's urban heat island effects and what effect our urban forest has on lessening the impact if we doubled our current canopy. Now we're actually doing even more rigorous research. Well, we're participating in it, but your agency is leading this study with the SB1 funding to focus on the urban heat island effect and the way that urban greening can lessen the impacts of what our future looks like.
Torrin, we have a question here from Board Member Natoli.
Yeah,
And,
again,
Terry.
it kind of just goes in hand with your presentation, and that one of the pressures that certainly local governments are receiving, obviously, is because of housing shortages, is to have greater density, to have footprints that cover more of, smaller lots in a lot of cases. The pictures you show obviously are contrast. You show a suburban neighborhood with very few trees. And I presume that would be East Sacramento there, and the ones with the in the other picture. But, having that available lot, and not just in public areas along, street corridors and so forth, is important, because otherwise, to your point about mature trees, you're going to, when you look at, the build out on lots, they're much smaller lots, and, and that's a priority in order to accommodate a growing population, and it doesn't discount what you're saying. I guess I'm just curious as to, as we see laws, and regulations that come down for us to do something on this side of the house, and then we're required to do this, and yet, I can see some potential conflict there, even as you look at some of the suburban neighborhood, because the densities are greater and there's smaller lots, and the ability to accommodate trees isn't impossible, but becomes more challenged. And obviously you have those in the public spaces and parks and parkettes and so forth. But I guess I'm curious as to, as you're looking at this, you were talking about, kind of the mix of ways to approach this. How are they, is that a part of the conversation in other communities as well?
Yeah, I think, the simple step is just good planning. So in neighborhoods like North Natomas, it is a smaller lot community, but there's plenty of plantable space, but running sewer lines right through what is the best place to plant a tree. So being thoughtful about the whole microcosm and planning with that in mind, or thinking about green belts, obviously. One area that's an interesting conflict that works toward our climate goals, but potentially needs to be thought about more carefully, is solar. That trees and solar do come in conflict, because the best place to plant a tree is typically where it's going to shade the home, just like where solar wants to be. So we're working closely with SMUD on thinking about something like solar shares programs, where you don't necessarily need the solar to be on every single rooftop. So I think it's thinking dynamically about, how best to prioritize these elements so they all play well together.
Are you working with the public works departments then, and your sanitation agency, your water agencies, PG&E, for example? Because I know obviously, some of the quarters may have had trees in the past, are going to be, either devoid and or there's going to be, different types of trees, if at all. And so are you having those conversations? Again, I don't put it all in Tree Foundation, but that, it would seem to me that when you're planning layouts for sewers and water line and gas lines and those things, if those are conflicts and you have limited space for a lot of different reasons, to your point, those conversations need to happen early on. Otherwise, you're going to you're going to run into the situation you just described. So
yeah, it's tricky. It's very difficult for planners, especially for the city agencies, to create more rules on development. And so the approach we've taken is what we call the neighborhood certification process, which we'll be rolling out very soon, where developers can opt into concepts that would be advantageous to the urban greening, to trees, to other environmental sustainability components. So you would say, okay, well, I'm going to think about this as I'm creating a whole new community, because that's really the growth we're experiencing in Sacramento most, is building neighborhoods where there weren't before. Yeah,
one last comment. I just suggest, though, that there would probably be beneficial, and maybe this is something certainly your district and our planning departments could coordinate with our engineering departments, because there are very tight prescriptions in our code requirements for where sewer lines go, and both the depth and sizing, but certainly for proximity, for connections. And it would seem to me that it's going to require some rethinking, not just a developer that's willing to do it. There will be maybe some costs associated with it going in, but also you have people willing at the time plans are reviewed to look at it a little differently and say, okay, well, this may not fit our, because you're looking at long-term maintenance and accessibility for those utilities. And so I guess I would just suggest that development community is important, but there's also, I think, your engineering departments and public works departments in your respective jurisdictions have an important, they need to be able to accommodate it as well.
I think it's very smart advice, and it's something we should be looking into as we're rolling this out.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Natoli. Board Member Hanson.
Thank you. I'd love a copy of the heat island map, because I think we need to talk more about that here. And I'm sure this is data we have available, but it does look like it's dated 1998. So I imagine it's newer than that, but I'm not sure. Is it newer than that?
Well, we mentioned that we're actually, again, Ms. Shelley Jiang is our principal investigator leading another more up-to-date study of this effect in our region. So perhaps the connection would be, as soon as we make a little more progress and we have some interesting findings to report to the board, we bring that back to you.
Well, Alberto, just because you and I serve on the Climate Commission, I'm thinking for the Public Health Subcommittee that if we have that information, because it's one of the things I brought up at the city a couple couple times, how do we reduce the heat island effect, which correlates to public health outcomes that are negative, sometimes behavioral outcomes that are negative, and generally identifies disadvantaged communities. How do we use this data to inform our general plan update, inform the work here at the Air District, but also at the Climate Commission? Because I think it is a very important metric that we don't often get such localized data, like our air quality data, is more generalized over certain areas, but this is much more specific and I think helpful.
Bingo. That is precisely why we're interested in this.
I've been listening to you. I've been in your head.
You are absolutely correct. The reason we're excited about this is because it turns out, based on the research, that increasing the tree canopy could be one of the most effective ways to mitigate the impacts of climate change. And the connection to the Climate Commission, you just made it. Under the first technical work that was looking at the built environment, the Tree Foundation was one of the key actors. So they're definitely going to be bringing that back to the full commission.
Yep. And just the last thing is, Torin, you mentioned crepe myrtles don't sequester as much as a valley oak. One is ornamental, the other is just sort of stout and long-lasting. But I don't really have a good idea of which trees sequester the most. Sometimes we plant for growth and shade.
Sure.
Like we were advised to put a red maple in, and I don't know if that's the right tree for carbon sequestration, but we were told it grows fairly fast and provides a lot of canopy. But I think that would be another thing. The Tree Foundation's done such a good job on all of those programs. This is another layer of thinking that would be really helpful to advise the community who's interested in sequestering carbon and providing shade and longevity.
Yeah, so that's a new facet of the Sacramento Shade Program. Up until last year, that program's goals were focused on energy savings specifically. In the new contract we just entered into, we shifted the primary driver to carbon, and it's opened our eyes to understand that vast difference between ornamental trees and native trees. And there's a lot of different elements to it. We don't necessarily just need to focus on carbon, though, because it also needs to be respectful of species diversity. We don't want to just have 100% valley oaks, for instance. So we're thinking about this a lot, and we'd love to share that information widely. And it's interesting even to think, how does that engage the communities? Do people want to be carbon sequester warriors, or do they just care about having something that blocks the view that they have of their neighbor's backyard? So we work on that element quite a bit, and we'd love to have more thinking around it. And we, with the Mayor's Climate Change Commission, that conversation is happening, and will happen with the urban, with the public health element. So we're looking forward to more sharing about that.
Thank you, Board Member Hanson. Torin.
I have another.
Oh, and Board Member Frost.
Torin, I have a question that relates to the lifespan of trees. In my neighborhood, the houses were built in 1958, and I lived there all my life and went away and came back. And by the time I came back, a lot of the trees had lived their lifespan and had to be cut down, and so I was now finding myself in an old neighborhood that had hardly any trees. And so I do think the question I have is, in this heat island study, are we looking at the lifespan of the trees also? Are you focused not just on those areas that don't have trees, but on the areas that have older trees that we need to start planting, so that as those older trees are going, we have others that are growing within them in the midst of that? Is that part of the heat island study?
I know that there's very complex information that's going into the heat island study that we're partnered on with the district. I don't know how carefully it models, because it models out urban growth changes. I'm not sure if it gets to that level of specificity on modeling out, neighborhood age, and knowing that many of our neighborhoods were, planted and created 50 years ago. And neighborhoods like Hollywood Park, Tahoe Park are ones that we're seeing that canopy, like Modesto ash, dying out. If that's something that's built into the model, that would be very interesting to check in on.
It was the Modesto ash in the 50s. That's all they planted. Yep. It was like our whole neighborhood was that tree.
Beautiful wood, by the way, for the Urban Wood Rescue Program.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to know, when you do this updated study, is it, because some of us send out letters to our constituents periodically, And that could be a really good informational letter that I could send out to neighborhoods that are underserved with trees to say, did you know these are the benefits of trees, and you live in an area that doesn't have as many trees, and there's an opportunity for free trees, call my office, blah, blah, blah. Can we get like the geographic location in our by district, or I don't know how you do that, but is it possible to get that, to break it down that way?
So let me, I love this. We obviously got your interest and focus on this. Let us come back to you and we'll have a proposal at the next board meeting in terms of perhaps we will bring you a short informational item just to give you an update on where the study is, and then we can talk about material that you can share with your constituents. It's a great study, and I give you all and the staff credit because this is the only region that has taken it upon itself to really understand at our local level what is going to be the biggest climate adaptation issue for us. And it turns out to be the heat island effect and the multiplicative effects of some of the actions we can take. Like, for example, Director Harris is going to love this one. There is an adaptation element to electrifying transportation sector, because when you have electric cars, you are not having to deal with that excess heat of that combustion engine running around. On a single car, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at our 500,000 vehicles in the county, it actually adds up quite a bit. So, I mean, it's just fascinating that without the research, we wouldn't have the understanding that we now have. So we'll bring that back to you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I do want to share, I mean, I think that's a great idea, and what we're afforded the opportunity already to do through our Neighborhoods program is try to tap into, these various communities, and in any way that we can attract more community members saying, gosh, I didn't realize it's going to get worse, or that it's so bad as it is already. I need to take action. And so any way that our organization can partner with your offices to get the word out, because we are so lucky to have, a region that cares so much, things like a backbone like the Sacramento Shade Program, but partnerships with the cities and the county to find ways to get people in action. Because for us, that is the critical component, is people taking action in their own spaces, because that's 90% of the space is private property.
We need to find champions, because, when I was on the city council, I had time to go door to door and share that they can get a free tree, and that the arborist will come, and that the gas company will come and look where their pipes are for the proper placement of the tree and the type of tree, and then we even will plant it for you if you can't do it yourself. And we spent a whole day, but there's a lot of energy in championing that, and in order to get champions, they have to truly understand the benefit of trees. And so that's what I think we need to work on.
Thank you,
getting
Board
more
Member
champions.
Frost. We have on the speakers list here Board Member Harris and Board Member Daniels. I do want to remind folks we have another presentation and closed session as well on top of our APOC report. So, not yet. Yeah, not. Yeah, exactly. Board Member Harris.
Thank you, Chair. Torrin, good to see you. I wanted to point out to the board here that the city is coming out with a new urban forestry master plan. This fall it should be complete, and we've done GIS mapping of soils. Virtually every tree in the city is mapped at this point. It addresses species diversity, succession planting, all the things that we need to know to make the correct decisions about which trees to plant where and when. And we also have a lot of volunteer groups like the River Park Tree Canopy Program that, we're getting very busy about succession planting, because we know that a lot of our canopy is mature and will be dying in the next 10 to 15 years. So now is the time to act and to plant for succession. But also, it's very true that Modesto ash and crepe myrtle and Bradford pears were the trees that were planted in profusion all over the city, as well as sycamores too. But we're getting proactive about it. And to your point, Dr. Ayala, it's not only the heat from the emissions, it's also the particulates and everything that's actually trapped by the canopy. So another good reason to move to all electric, so that as we protect ourselves from the heat island effect, that we're not trapping all those pollutants actually in our breathable air low to the ground. So there's a lot to this, and happily a lot of people are working on it very well, and we laud the Tree Foundation's efforts, absolutely.
Yep, and one sort of pivot to what Director Harris is saying and what Director Frost is saying is what we're trying to do is find opportunities to pair Kate Riley, who's in River Park, with neighborhoods like North Highlands to have them become inspired about how to take on action in their own neighborhood. So that's our new movement in the Neighborhoods program.
Thank you, Torrin. We're going to go to Board Member Daniels here. And again, if we can conclude the presentation after this, and we'll finish questions afterwards. Thank
I
you.
should just
Board
be
Member
about
Daniels.
15 minutes. So
Thank you. Yeah. Keep it below 20.
So the first thing I would recommend is that you guys think about changing the name of the organization. Those of us that are not in Sacramento would appreciate at least some acknowledgement that you're beyond Sacramento. So maybe the Sacramento Valley Tree Foundation. But anyway, you're doing a study. The study will have recommendations. The recommendations will be hopefully to put trees in certain places. Do you take into consideration the health effects of certain trees? I am shocked at when I see layers and layers of pollen that comes off trees. Yep. And I don't even understand how a cottonwood tree is even legal anymore. So do you take that into account when you are recommending certain trees?
It's definitely a consideration. When we're working with residents, it's something we make them aware of. We have actually shifted away from sycamores as a tree. 2 years from now, we'll stop planting it because it is a high pollen tree as well, and we don't plant cottonwoods, even though they're native. So it's a consideration, but it's one of many things. And so, high carbon sequestering versus high pollen creating, how do you weigh that out? And so at this point, we leave that. I think that things like the City of Sacramento's Urban Forest Master Plan can help create priorities around that and think about it on a macroscape. But for us, we do, information is power in our mindset. So we try to do the best by the community members because they're the ones who have to take care of the trees at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Daniels. Torrin, if you could be prudent with your time, we do have questions after this as well.
Okay, great. And I think a lot of the rest of what I was going to share has been covered, so I'm going to try to just graze over it. We all know it's getting much hotter as time goes on, and that there are steps that we need to take. But just to share, that the way that a tree canopy can affect those things is obviously cooling, not just through shading, but a key component is the evapotranspiration. A tree is an air conditioner, and so it can actually, if we're talking about making sure that neighborhoods are cooler, having strong green belts that are adjacent to the community can also be overall beneficial in lowering temperatures. And of course, trees, by lowering the need for energy, they lower costs and energy demand. So I've discussed the concepts that trees benefit air quality and community health. Once again, obviously, the bigger the tree, the better. Through urban cooling, trees can prevent a significant amount of heat-related morbidity, mortality. And so as we get hotter, we're really putting populations at risk. So for this reason, other cities, specifically Melbourne, Australia, are setting very high canopy targets as a response to climate change impacts. They have a canopy coverage of 22%. For Sacramento, the city of Sacramento, it's 21%. Melbourne their goal is to plant to 40% canopy coverage in the next 20 years. And I really hope that we can be just as ambitious, recognizing the way our populations are going to become at risk because of the rising air temperatures that we're going to be dealing with and the long heat spikes that we're going to have. So at the Tree Foundation, we have all sorts of things going on. We plant 10,000 shade trees a year by engaging communities to take action and facilitating volunteerism. But it also takes 1,000 days for a tree to establish, and so that's where people need to get involved. So that partnerships within the neighborhoods that we've discussed, but also partnerships between the city and community organizations are a key ingredient. This is how our urban canopy thrives. We forge partnerships with governments, businesses, and at the community level. In a forest, everything works together. Birds move seeds around, bees pollinate, and that's how our urban spaces have to work together as well. Everyone needs to come to the table. So it's time to seriously increase our tree canopy. We're poised and ready with our partners like the Air District. We have initiatives that apply on various levels to provide opportunities to enhance the canopy. Greenprint is our regional initiative for the 22 cities and 6 counties to grow the best urban forest. We facilitate conversations for those entities to build out more robust urban forestry plans. Sacramento Shade, which we've been discussing, is our 29-year program that's planted over 650,000 shade trees in partnership with SMUD. Like I shared, that program has recently been recalibrated to emphasize carbon storage and carbon avoided as a central goal. Neighborhoods targets under canopied neighborhoods, working with, and more importantly, listening to local residents about how to best to plant and plan for their urban forest, because there are reasons that it works well for us to plant trees in Land Park, but also reasons that we're not necessarily acute at doing those things in South Sacramento. And so we need to work with the community members in those neighborhoods. And Healthy Neighborhoods for All is our new initiative where we seek to plant 200,000 street trees in under-canopied and under-resourced neighborhoods in partnership with the communities. We look forward to working with the Air District and taking immediate actions to improve the quality and health of communities throughout the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Torrin. Board Member Carr.
Thank you. Two quick questions. How does the urban wood rescue work?
So right now, we are reliant upon the city of Sacramento and then tree care companies when they're cutting down trees that have aged out to bring them to the yard, to our, it's over in Depot Park. We have a staff that are trained in milling. We're also working with the city's 1,000 Strong program to do that work. And then folks come to the yard and purchase wood that they'd like to buy. So we have the economics figured out. We'd like to shift that program to start offering tax benefits to people that donate their trees to us, because there is an economic benefit to us that goes to support the Tree Foundation. We'd also like to extend that benefit to people that are having the tree removed.
So the companies, instead of putting the trees through the shredder, would bring them to you?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Second question. Regarding the urban heat island and the older strip malls all across the county, not just in the city, but all across the county, that were built before the new design standards, which are probably inadequate, as you insinuate there. What's the state of the art of getting trees planted where there's a limited ability to provide irrigation in some of these parking lots? Where are we? Have we?
I think we need to force the issue and innovate, quite honestly, because there is a parking lot shade ordinance that compels 50% shading of parking lots, but it's very, very difficult to implement and it's very difficult to enforce. But I think we need to start finding ways to do it. I mean, there are innovations about how to water trees without having to install irrigation lines, and also just incentivizing the businesses to do it, because there isn't much that's compelling them to do it right now. And I think part of it, I mean, hopefully a solution can be you use peer pressure. You know, if the other businesses are doing it around you and they're getting better business traffic because I'm going to park my car there and not get cooked when I go back to it, then I'm more likely to do it. So maybe offering incentives to the businesses to opt in and having it spread around. And I think Sac Tree worked with the old bingo hall to do that on Florin Road a while ago. And I think those trees are still looking very good. But how do we expand on that? It's a big question, and it's something we need to focus on.
Those trees are looking good, but no one else is bought in.
Right, that's true, yeah.
And I think we need to do something different. Are we going to keep getting what we've been getting?
So it's tricky. We are building relationships with PBIDs all over the region, and they're very interested in it. But talking to individual businesses, there's still a lot of concerns about trees are going to block my sign, trees are going to support crime, trees are going to create safety issues. And so I think it's partially getting past those myths about how trees are negative and talking about the positive. So, we need to get better at it.
Thank you, Board Member Carr. Board Member Hanson.
Just one follow-up on that. I think when we do the analysis, those heat islands that are generated from pavement, because I've often gone to Google Maps, and you can see both in the city and the county, very large paved areas. There's one north of the city that's like an auto auction yard. It's like, must be a half mile of just paved area. There's a couple kind of in the Fruit Ridge Finger, and then you've got a very large one I noticed. But I think that could be a target of some of our work too, is how do we break up some of that pavement to make sure it's less heat islandy?
I think a component in that is around stormwater mandates, because I think there also is a need for spaces to allow for stormwater infiltration. And so while you're doing that work, similar to where do we put the sewer line is, if you're being forced to meet your stormwater mandates, how can we bring the urban forestry and shading component into it as well? And so looking at those funding sources that are out there at the state would be really smart. So once again, what are the collaborations that can play out here?
Good. Thank you very much, Torin. Is that the end of your presentation?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Since there are no more members on this to speak, we'll get ready to move on to the next one. I do want to thank the Tree Foundation, and we know your work in District 6, particularly with Elder Creek Elementary and addressing the heat island effect, has been very important. And I know we've got more work to do, but look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, if I just could, too, if those on the board haven't visited the Urban Wood Rescue operation out Depot Park, it's pretty impressive, and as Torin said, they've recently gotten their new mill, but I was amazed when I had a chance to visit there last year, just at the variety and certainly I think the creativity into marketing that. So it's it's serving a lot of different purposes as mentioned here, but I would just mention that it's a real opportunity, and if you're into woodworking at all, they got some fantastic bargains there. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Don't leave yet. Board Member Harris.
Just a brief comment. I've been working with our urban forester to come back with a carbon sequestration ordinance so that we can work more effectively with trees that we do remove, for reuse of the boles so that they don't get chipped and shredded or burned for cogen, whatever, to reuse the wood. So hopefully we'll be collaborating even more deeply with the Tree Foundation in that regard.
That's great. Yeah, we really appreciate that.
Thank you, Board Member Harris. Okay, Madam Clerk.
The next item on the discussion calendar, item number 9, state and local efforts related to wildfires. And I have Ms. Amy Roberts with our Stationary Sources Department to give a presentation.
Good morning. Thank you, Selena. Good morning, Chair Guerra and members of the board. As Selena said, my name is Amy Roberts, and I'm the division manager for the Stationary Source Division that oversees permitting and compliance here at the Air District.
Perfect.
Today I'm happy to be here to give you some information and updates, all related to state and local efforts related to wildfires. And also I'll be providing you with some information on Sacramento County and the controlled burns that happen here. On a statewide level, we all know that the catastrophic wildfires of 2017 and 2018 led to a lot of different actions, both here regionally and at the state level. One of the first actions that Governor Newsom took when he took office in January was an executive order that required CAL FIRE to develop a plan that had recommendations for the state to prevent and mitigate wildfire. When that report was released, the governor immediately issued a state declaration of emergency related to wildfires, which then paved the way for immediate action to be taken to protect vulnerable communities that have been identified, and also work on fuel management projects in 35 identified priority areas. Also, in our state budget, in order to prevent and mitigate, there are additional funds that were set aside. The recently signed budget for this current budget cycle has $225 million set aside for preventative measures, as well as an additional $250 million that are set aside to purchase air tankers, bulldozers, any kind of emergency response equipment that's necessary for firefighters when there is a wildfire. Another measure that was taken at the state level by previous Governor Brown was the Governor's Forest Tax Management Task Force. This is a multi-agency, multi-partner task force. It's an ongoing effort. It started in 2018 with main goals basically to reintroduce healthy forests. There's a complete nexus, as we already saw from the previous Tree Foundation, between climate change and a healthy climate and healthy forests. And so there's a strong emphasis on making sure that there is a tie between those two. So with that in mind, the task force has been working on trying to increase the types of projects that will have a healthy impact on our forest lands. Increasing prescribed burning is something that historically has not been widely accepted by the public. So it's trying to reintroduce the concept of fire as a necessary means for our forests to be properly managed. So there's a lot of education in their campaigns and a lot of talk of how we do reintroduce proper fuel management and including prescribed fire. There's also, we just talked about different unique and varied ways for us to take wood products. We know that there's about 150 million dead trees out there from climate change and bark beetle infestations that really do require a new market. And what are we going to do with all of that dead and dying wood that's there that needs to be removed in order to prevent wildfires? But it is a lot of wood, and there aren't very many means. So this task force is definitely looking at ways to find new markets and figure out where to put those wood products. And also making sure that everything that's done is strategically coordinated, from the budgets, from the funding that's available, and also looking at the forest carbon plan that's already in place and making sure that these items are aligned. CAPCOA is attending all of the task force meetings. In fact, there's one coming up in August, just to make sure that there is a local air quality voice at the table and a listening ear to make sure if there's anything and any connections between what we do and what's happening at the state level, that we're aware of that. One other measure is a mobile app development. This is happening by the California Air Resources Board, and basically looking at combining air quality information, smoke data, and where prescribed fires and wildfires are happening, making sure that the public has some kind of access to that information in a clear, on your phone ready, so wherever you are, you can have access and availability to that data. Another state measure that's taking place, and it was recently passed, actually just last week, was an emergency rulemaking by Cal OSHA. This is a measure that was taken in order to protect indoor and outdoor workers from wildfire smoke. A couple of the main requirements from this regulation are employers are required to make respirators available when the AQL reaches greater than 150. And it's also to mandate employers to give and provide respirators to their employees when the AQI reaches greater than 500. That regulation is with OAL right now for review and approval. And it's expected that this is going to go through the regular rulemaking process over the next 6 to 12 months. And there's also advisory meetings that we are participating in, and the next one is in August, on August 27th. As far as regional coordination, I think everybody in this room has an indelible print of the Camp Fire and our experience breathing some of the worst air quality in the world this past November. So what that was for our region was definitely a driver for change. It was a recognition by the Air District, by you, our board members, by public health officer and other entities, that we really need better regional coordination. We need to have sufficient messaging for our public and for our employers, businesses, to know exactly what's the best method, what are the best behaviors, what are the best things that we can do in situations like that. So immediately after the Camp Fire, we were meeting with our public health officer, Dr. Cassirier, and other entities in order for us to start coordinating and discussing what is the best method for us to go forward. We do have in August another meeting that's coming up, and it will be a multi-agency meeting again to continue this conversation. It'll include SACOG, SAC-RT, Director Hansen in your office, and many other private and government entities, to make sure that, as you know, we all concede that this is probably our new normal, and we'll have to deal with wildfires in the future of that nature. Also, that came from our desire for increased coordination was a legislation that came through Assembly Member McCarty's office. He represents District 7, and in support, through the support of Director Hansen in your office and our air agency, put together legislation that would really influence and promote our increased coordination regionally. That legislation is going through the process right now. It has gone through several different committees at the legislature level. And if, as expected, it goes through the remaining steps, it could be signed by the governor this October. The requirements of AB 661 are for our agency to develop a wildfire smoke air pollution emergency plan, and in coordination with other agencies, both the public health officer, local schools, and local emergency services. This also would have to come back to you for your approval, and the plan will be required to consider how vulnerable populations are affected and what measures we can take to protect vulnerable populations better. Well, we're also required to look at what kind of short-term air quality metric is the best for us to deal with and allow the public to know what kind of behavioral changes and decision-making they need to do in a shorter time frame. The last requirement of that legislation is that we do go back to the Air Resources Board and the legislature and provide information to them about our experience in preparing that plan. As far as prevention, something that probably many of you have already heard because it's already been in the news, and back in June, PG&E was one of the first utility companies to use it, and that is the Public Safety Power Shutoff, PSPS for short. These power shutoffs are intended, as you know, most likely, that during high wind events, that the power is shut off in various counties and different regions in the state in order to prevent down power lines from causing a wildfire. What does that mean for Sacramento County? We had a couple of questions ourselves about what that might mean. If you can see on the map that's on the slide, the CPUC has identified fire threat areas within the state, and our county is in the white strip. So as you can see from the map, that we are not in an officially designated area, a fire threat area. So we do not expect Sacramento County to be as impacted by these power shutoff events. But it definitely is something that we're still tracking and keeping our eye on. Second, SMUD is our primary provider within Sacramento County, although there are some parts within the southern part where PG&E is the utility provider. So from that end, that SMUD themselves have stated that they do not expect to have many power shutoff events. They do have a fairly robust vegetation management program in areas where they do manage transmission lines. And what they have stated is that they're more likely to have short-term, maybe 1 hour rotating power shutoffs that would go throughout their service area instead of multi-day events. For an air quality perspective, one concern that we had, if they were going to be longer term, is there going to be an increase in the use of diesel-powered generators, standby generators. And again, it doesn't look like this is going to be something as much of concern as maybe other parts of the state, but it is something that from a local air district and from a state perspective, there are many conversations going on about what policy changes, making sure that we're in line with what our regulations already state, and requirements for use of emergency generators. And the very last topic I'll cover with you today, again, as I mentioned, the controlled burning here in Sacramento County by our local fire agencies. It is something that they typically use generally for training of their firefighters to make sure that they're certified and well-trained and performing their jobs safely. They also will often combine their training with different projects that are required around the state, and those are for fuel reduction and hazard reduction and landowners and their vegetation management projects. Regulations and requirements that are put on fire agencies for these types of burns come from Title 17, that's a state legislation that guides prescribed burning, and also our local air district rules. Some of those requirements include burns of a certain size to be reported within a state database known as PFIRS, the Prescribed Fire Information and Reporting System. They also need to get a local burn permit. They need to call on a burn day, make sure that they have the thumbs up to go ahead and burn, and also they need to burn a certain amount of acres that can be restricted and also restricted to a certain time of day. Lastly, our agency and fire agencies around the state, around the region, have been developing a working group over the past 4 years. We've been working together on various topics, including burn permit requirements, what those fees are, and also when fire agencies do have training burns that fall on a no burn day, whether or not they are going to be allowed to burn. Historically, we've been meeting with those fire agencies a couple of times a year to go over these topics, and historically has been a successful place for us to set some ground rules, understand between our different agencies the different mandates that were required, and figure out ways for us to handle those types of conflicts that do occasionally come up. So with that, I will go ahead and end my presentation and take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. We have Board Member Hanson and Board Member Harris signed up to speak. Board Member Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank our staff. You've really been leaders in the state using our expertise, certainly Dr. Ayala's history and set of relationships having been at the ARB to help us move forward a bunch of things that are very important. And I know that there are other districts in the state who don't like legislation to tell them what to do, but I think this is important because government agencies don't always coordinate unless they're told to do it. And I think that AB 661 really comes out of what happened here in Sacramento County, where we wanted to coordinate, but we couldn't figure out how to get it done. And this will be a model, I think, for other districts. And so other districts are watching us to see how this goes. And we're going to be a leader because they wanted to wait and see what would happen. And I think that's really underscores the importance of our district in the state, what we're doing, and just to the quality of our staff. I also think all the other things that were listed here, you know, as we go through this, I don't know how we want to measure, to take Larry Carr's concept, but I do think it's important that as you think about all of this work, because it's a lot, you think about what are the outcomes that we want to benchmark to. You know, certainly it can be a certain responsiveness, it can be to have a plan in place. But I think beyond that too, we have a chance to say, you know, which communities we want to interact with, what kind of public health response do we want to be able to demonstrate. There's probably a whole variety of them, but I think that's probably the next level. And that can come through our plan. But I just want to thank you, Amy and Alberto and the whole team for all the work you're doing. This is really phenomenal.
Thank you, Board Member Hanson, for your leadership on this, and I think we're going to show the state that Sacramento can lead the way. Board Member Harris.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the comments of my colleague here and the thanks to staff for all your work. Amy, when you talked about legislation mandating respirator use at 500 AQI, I would suggest that that threshold is way too high. When the Camp Fire occurred, we had AQI north of 300 here in Sacramento for a period of about 3 days, 325, almost 350 on some days. And I can tell you, at AQI 500, the horse is already dead. You know, I mean, that is, you can barely breathe in that kind of air quality. So I'm not sure of the source of that number, but if our district had any say, I would say that mandated respirator use would probably be a lot more effective if it was in the 300s than 500 AQI.
Thank you, Board Member Harris. Since we have no other board members, this is a discussion item, and we are at 10:05. We do have closed session and the APCO report as well. If board members are okay, before we lose quorum, maybe we can go to closed session first and come back for the APCO report. Is that okay? Good. Okay, we're going to adjourn to closed session, and then we'll re-adjourn for the balance of the agenda.